Hello, hello, Alistair. It's Stormworks. It's just something was up with Restream earlier, so I had to manually fix it. So, gonna be playing with a little bit of the playing with a little bit of sailing stuff here. Try to do some little bit of career. Not gonna play for too long, but I gotta edit everything up because Restream wasn't working initially. So, but we'll be with you just a minute. Alright, so that should fix that. I gotta fix Twitch, and then we'll be off to the races here. But yeah, it had some issue with Restream, and I couldn't get to fix itself, so I had to start it up and then fix it. Alright, that looks fixed over there. Let's finish setting this up. Alright, so I like to build essentially a career boat that can run on sails as well. That'd be kind of cool, I think. That way, if it's all set up for, oh wait, it'll save a lot of fuel and whatnot. Yeah, we don't really need it for everything. Alright, that's sent out on that. Finish setting this up here. Oh, good, that's good there. I've been well, how have you been there, Alistair? Yeah, let me know if the music's too loud or whatnot. Okay, good. So, I'm kind of, let's see. Gonna grab a little bit of inspiration for what I want to do here. Kind of want to make it a reasonably round, not ultra modern sailboat. Kind of might just wing it. I find some inspiration. But it's gonna be the beginner base. It's gonna be small. Just something you can sail out to the rescues. Do a little bit of work here and there. Alright, let's just start building. I'm gonna square it up pretty well too. So. Get a taste of this myself, as you've had the standard complainers complaining right off the bat, day one, without even like really having any time to play with it and see how it works, to complain it's not working right. And it's like, you see a lot of people already making sailboats that are working quite well, so it's kind of like, if other people are doing it, you know, maybe it's not the sailboat, but it's you. So let's see. I didn't mean to do the middle one. People using the keels in undesirable ways, and then playing the keels aren't working too. So it's like, take a look at it. again, the keels are, the whole point of the keels are to counteract the sails, so. And they'll use them on not even sailing vessels and then be like, it's not working. It's like, you're not using them right. Alright. Let's see. Something like that, I think. I want this to be a work boat, so I want it to kind of have some high rails and be kind of boxy. And again, you know, as we were talking about last episode of this new career series, is I don't want to make super elaborate stuff right off the bat, because then you don't want to replace it right away and it takes forever, and then it's kind of like, it doesn't need to be my all the time vehicle. It can be kind of short and then trade it out for something else, you know, kind of iterate on it. Alright, there we go. We'll do one more layer here. Can't be too tall, so let's start curving it right in. Drag, please. Drag, 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 drag. There we go. Hey guys, I'll catch up with chat in one sec. How's it going, Sergeant? Good to see you, Sergeant. Yeah, how are you? Starting to make a little sailboat for career. Oh yeah, got a little bit of flag breaking, yeah. Yeah, there's some cool stuff going on. Like, you know, the keel's kind of a magic block, which I'm gonna probably try to avoid. Make my own if I can, but that's like, some people don't understand. It's like, it's a magic block designed to just counteract the sails, and they're trying to use it for a bunch of other things too. So it's kind of like, you kind of have to work with it to see what you want to do with it, you know. For now, I'm gonna wedge this out. I have to think about rudder in a second here, but I can shrink the midsection of this as necessary. So. Let's see. Gotta make space for the sail, so I can't go up too high on this. Okay. Kind of the hull of it in the tub. Get a quick float on it. Good, sailing nice and high. Or sitting nice and high, rather. Alright, let's go. So still, as far as I'm concerned, the best method for ballasting is gonna, well, the most effective is gonna be the adding a lot of weight and then subtracting it with fuel, negative fuel mass. Yeah, mass-wise, 59, 39, that's not bad. Good. So that's good starting value there. Probably dump out some of this. What are we at there? 38. Okay, good. That's pretty good. Alright, let's do a measure. Alright, we are... I didn't measure that, but whatever. I'll fix it in a second. That is 13 1/4, 53. We're talking 25, 27 blocks. Right there. So... CG is pretty close, that's not bad. Where's the decking? Decking is right there. Okay, good, so let's go. CG is not bad, it's below the center of rotation, but we're gonna have sails too, so I need to knock that down even more. That's fine. Alright, what's the weight cost? 5, no, battle. Be 15. 50. Okay. I want to go a little bit aft. Let's see. Good. That's 5. Let's do the new center and we'll remeasure. That is gonna be 47. Is that 20? 24 there. Okay. It's the new center. It's pretty much online. That's pretty good. Alright, good there. Yeah, let's look at some of these sail components. I have not even looked at them yet. There's a sail anchor. Okay. No clue how that works yet. I'll look at it. Is it 4 faces for a sail? Is that how it's working? 4? Let me look. Anchor point for sail, draw a rope logic between 4 sail. Yep. Create a loop to form a sail. Sail convert force from the wind to the direction of the sail. Face the sail force strongest when fully facing the wind. Okay, good. Right. See if we can do that. Yeehaw. Okay, good. Hello, Daniel. Let's catch up a chat, yeah? Hello, Daniel. How are you? Yep, I'm building a sailboat. I think the keel is just essentially magic to try to keep it facing straight up. So, depending on how you have it set up, it's probably, I don't know if it's using a pit or what, but it's something to that effect. It's compensating for that, so it's trying to compensate for the general what you're making. So it doesn't really know what you're making, I would say. So I'm gonna do my best not to use the keel at all. Let's see. Good Christ. That's gonna do. I don't remember if that would let me do duels or not. It won't. Play with it a little bit here. Come on. I hate it when the flicky camera goes. Let's see. How long will my dryer sing the song of its people? Probably for an hour. Okay. That's the right direction. Right. Okay, good. Let's do this. Alright, let's get back on chat. It probably is. I was thinking that myself for automating sales, where essentially you're doing a wind indicator and you want to put in ideal wind locations. So you kind of have to set it. You want a general direction, and then if you're going into the wind, you'd set the angle via the wind indicator. So of course you could automate that. So. Yeah, I think one of the benefits of like doing sales stuff though is that it is very manual. I get everybody wants to automate everything at some point, but personally, that's kind of the fun as far as I'm concerned, is doing a lot of that manually. Okay, good. So it's going that way. So I'd want to go out both of them essentially. So what's that? 1 and 3. I'm gonna give the boom some slack, because in real life, from the sailing I've done, I did sailing school when I was a kid. If you don't have enough slack, you're essentially you will start heeling over more, and so by letting that sail out, you're going to be able to heel less. So like when we were going on a run, we would push that sail all the way out as much as possible. So we'd try to go 90 degrees to the wind, essentially. So as you can see, it's trying to go 90 degrees to the wind, so it aligns directly with the wind. So. Where's the wind coming from now? Let's get it from behind me for now. It's coming right towards me, so let's get that wind turned. Alright, so I'm going to start trying to get the wind to my stern. As I pull the sail in, it's going to heel me over more. But it should be able to go faster. Pushing me sideways. Let's see. Oh, did I have the rudder sticky? Maybe I did. I don't know. Alright, so we're starting to get moving here. Put a correction in. To trim out the rudder so that I don't have to hold it. And then we'll pull on a sail a little bit. Should have put a speed indicator on here. But from however many years, 30-something years ago of sailing, remembered it reasonably well. Starting to bring our sails in, which is going to cause more heeling as the, you know, it's 90 degrees. You're gonna heel over less because the relative angle from the wind is less. So as you increase the relative angle, it's going to do more heeling, which heeling is, you know, is the tipping of the boat like this. Good. Alright, that's some good testing to start with. Let's get rid of the wind first and then put it back in the bench. That's some good testing. Get some speed indicator on there. You need to use the new keel parts? No, I don't need to use the new keel. I do not need to use the keel parts. I can use the keel parts, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. That's taking it out of sails. I'm aware they're there, but I don't need to do anything, frankly. When active, allows the ropes forming the sails to spool freely. So that's billowing, essentially. Any other indications on them? If you were here earlier, you would have heard me talk about them. I want these as, I don't want them to do. Heeling is perfectly natural in a sailboat. If I, you know, had a bigger, see, you have no clue what's going on, you just showed up, so it's like, you know, if I had more space, I'd use the centerboard, do things like that, but you just showed up, I don't know how you know what you're doing, what I'm doing yet, so. Let's see, that's good, that's good, that's good. Kind of do a spinnaker on the front at some point. Let's get a linear speed. I get a linear speed there. was a push, right? Let's change that out to a push. What's that on? That's on 5. Push. There we go. Excuse me, I'm walking here. I don't know why you guys are trying to solve for a problem that I have no interest in solving for. I want my ship to heal, so why would I put something in there to make it not behave like a sailboat? That is the question. Alright, go ahead and... Alright. Perfectly natural for a sailboat to heal. Go ahead and let out a little. Letting out a little sail will cut the healing. Get moving. Relative wind is off the left. Let's go ahead and put in a little bit of trim. There we go. Alright, that's going to be, what is it, 2 point, what's knots, 195, 195, so that's about 2-something knots at the moment. Up the wind just a touch. Let's get that trim back in. There we go, we get the trim in. And we'll let out some sail. Alright, let's see. Let's see what our position is. I hate it when I click an image, I can't find it there. So we are currently running. So when you're directly away from the wind, you do a 90-degree run. So we're gonna let the sail all the way out for running. Alright, so now we're on a run. If we were going about, I don't know, 10 degrees or more off, we'd be doing a broad reach. Yeah, beam reach, 90 degrees to the wind. Close reach is going towards the wind. Close hauled is within probably 15 degrees going into the wind. And then irons is when you're going directly into the wind. So we're currently running right now. Let's see, what are we doing? So we're doing about 5, almost 6 knots, which is pretty fast for a sailboat of this size. See what happens when I press the 5 key and let out some of the slack in the sail. Let's put a trim in. There we go. So that's a full run right now, away from the wind. What's our speed? Yeah, so we're doing about 4 knots, which is pretty respectable. I'll bring up the picture I'm using here. Used to know this stuff back when I used to sail. It's been a long time. Okay, why are you saving something I'm trying to open in a new, it's weird. Let's try to copy the image. I'll bring it up in Paint so you can see it. Hello, Amanda. How are you? Thanks, Amanda, for 18 months. Appreciate it. Good to see you, Amanda. It's been a while. Alright. Where are we here? Trying to get this picture up for you guys. Stand by. There it is. Okay. Let's get the picture up. Alright, so that's the different, that's how you want your sails in the wind. So you can see we're on a run. We're currently going directly away from the wind. So we want that sail at 90 degrees. That's going to give the biggest, largest face of the sail to the wind, which is going to give us the greatest amount of force. So as I turn to the right, I'm going to want to bring my sails in a little bit. So I'll bring my sails in, or sail in this case, and I'm going to turn into, in this case, right. But I don't have the rudder for it, so, because the wind is high. I don't have a rudder for that turn. Let's knock it down just a touch. So now I have the rudder for it. So we turn off the wind here a little bit. We want to bring in our sails. We need that angle of attack of the sail. There we go. So we're starting to tighten the sail in a little bit. Get the wind back up. So at that angle, that's about what we'd want for sail. And then if we're going 90 degrees, we would need to, let's see, 90 degrees, we'd want to tighten the sails even more. So let's go back in a running position. And we'll turn our rudder to get us back into the wind. There we go. Now we're back running again. Center that trim up. See what our speed is. We're doing a good, that's pretty fast. About 5 knots. Not too bad. All right. All right, let me catch up on some chat here. Catch up on chat here. Do you not have a keel? Again, you don't need a keel. Thank you. Exotic coloring. That's instead of it being white because the white's blinding, I just use the purple and I change the color it later. Yeah. Okay, I already ignored that comment. How's it going there, officer? Good to see you. Yeah, I won't have time to really do too much, so I probably won't. Bye, Oddly Tug. See you later. Yeah, I'm aware that the keels are magic blocks that do magic. Not interested. I'm trying to see the physics of how it works in the game first. So if I put the magic block in, how am I going to understand the physics of how it works in game? Alright, so that's enough there, Oddly. Thanks. You have no clue what I'm trying to do, and you're making all these wild comments. It's like the point of what I'm trying to do is understand the physics of how it's working in game. If I start using magic blocks, how in the fuck am I going to understand the physics of how it's working in game, Oddly Tugs? Doesn't make any sense. I understand how sailing works. Jesus Christ. Hello, Anton. How are you? Yeah, the pulleys are too big. Good. Yeah, it's the comments that annoy me are the ones that you have no clue what I'm trying to achieve, yet you then start spitting out a bunch of nonsense that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to achieve. So, if you don't know what my objective is, then how can your comment be pertinent there, Oddly Tugs? The point of it is I'm trying to see the behavior without the keel. So if I put the keel in, how could I possibly understand the behavior without the keel? See, because you're just talking out your ass. You don't know what I'm looking to do. That's why it's annoying. Trying to see the natural, how doing the different positioning of the sails, how it interacts with the wind, different wind levels, all this stuff. Doing testing to see how the mechanics work, which is what everybody should do before they start building stuff randomly and then going on Reddit and complaining that stuff doesn't work. Exactly what I'm doing. Let's see, let's turn more into the wind. I have too little rudder to be super effective on some of the stuff. It's got a weird perpendicular behavior to the wind. But it's a very small sail, and it's also not a square sail. And it looks like they're prioritizing square sails. Let's quickly throw a square on here and see what that looks like. Save this real quick. Let's see what a squared out behavior is. Still don't quite know what the stick sales in and out is really doing. It says spool freely, but it did a very minimal change. So I wonder if they try running a toggle and see what happens on that. You know, with the fact that the devs made it a 4-point sale, you know, it seems like they've definitely prioritized square sales, which I get, but it seems what they've done. Definitely prioritize square sales. See if I can find the helm here. I'm gonna see if I've actually sent these out or not. Let's see, 5. I can't see 5. Why can't I see 5 on there? Go back, check something here. That's 5. That's 6. That's why. It was 6. All right. That let the sales out a little bit. Yes, that definitely increased the speed, but it's also increased the surface area of the sail. Okay, good. I don't want a square rig sail anyways. Let's open this up. I'm gonna see what we can do with spinnaker would be interesting. Let's try something interesting here. Trying to think about like a spinnaker bar on there. I like a spinnaker bar on here. They were 5. Okay, switch 6 on the spinnaker. Okay. Then I'm going to need the ropes to angle the spinnaker. Could probably run spinnaker right off the deck rails too. I'm trying to think. Let's try that real quick. That'll be a little less complex. Probably won't. Sales probably won't keep my interest for too long. Doesn't really interest me all that much compared to everything else. Let's see that more spinnaker there. Oh, stop. Right there. do a spinnaker bar off here. The bar would move, but I'm gonna make it stationary for the moment. Right, let's just decide on a side for now. See what how that unfurls. Now, okay, I gotta change it. Yeah, like that. All right. There we got our spinnaker end. Let's see. Alright. We'll just get ready, Oddly Tug. See ya. Maybe pan the balls. We'll just see you later. Takes care of that problem. Makes it real easy. Try to monopolize the conversation, be a pain in the ass. You can just see you later, dude. Adios. Adios, muchachos. Don't need you here. Let's do this instead. Do this for entertainment, not to be annoyed by you. Go build whatever you want in your game there, guy. Be my guest. I keep a little engine on just so I can turn a little bit better, and then we'll start testing out some of the stuff. Ooh, that's too much. Go down to like 10%. Despite me explaining the whole process of how I'm trying to see how it works without the keel, Ding Dong still keeps saying, well, use a keel. You don't understand the English language, I can't keep communicating with you because that's the only language I speak, so. Alright, let's up the VIN. Trying to see, I would want this sail on the other side. Let's see if I can't spin the wind a little bit here. There we go. That's gonna be too much. What's that on? There we go. So I've got it on the right side now. Let's keep sending that sail out to get it in a run. Alright, and let's keep running that sail. There we go, I get the full sail out now. Put some trim in there. Now let's shut that motor off. Yeah. Not every sail. Oh, yeah, I know you're talking facetious, Daniel K. But it's like all the sailboats, or most of the sailboats I've ever sailed, have had centerboards. You know, depends on the sailboat. You know, you have keels, you have centerboards. You know, some of them have none. It's all dependent upon the thing. You know, being a internet know-it-all, just again, the main thing that annoys me with his commentary was he has no clue what I'm trying to accomplish, and it's like, you know, it'd be like going in on a painting stream and you're like, somebody's trying to paint a mountain, and you're like, well, why don't you paint a car? Because I'm not trying to paint a car, I'm trying to paint a mountain. You have no clue what the hell I'm doing, so the comment is irrelevant. Yeah, as catamarans is again, you know, a lot of sailboats use centerboards. Like, we used to sail lasers. That's what I sailed most. And they had centerboards. You know, you would slide the centerboard in and out, and it would give a hydraulic stability because it acts as a stabilizing force in the water to counteract the sail. So it just wants to maintain its natural position. If you brought the sail in too much, you are going to tip over in a laser, capsize many a times in a laser from pulling the sail in too much. You know, like here, let's look at some lasers. The lasers are a lot of fun because it's very much you are. Let's see, I'm trying to find the display captors. They're very small, and you really have to be careful with them because the boat doesn't weigh very much. They're fast, they're zippy, they spin around real fast. But like you see how much you have to lean over in a laser sometimes because you don't have a keel. You have a centerboard. So there's no weight to the keel. It's just a centerboard in there. And so the centerboard is trying to counteract the action of the sail, but sometimes you need a big heavy man to hang way the Christ off it like this, you know. This is how I used to have to run in a laser. There's a strap in the middle of the laser. You put your feet in there so you can do stuff like this to keep the boat from tipping over. Because there's no keel. You have a centerboard, you know, so it's kind of, you know, guy's got no clue what he's talking about. Well, lasers were a lot of fun. This has happened to me when I was a kid in a laser, you know. Mine went all the way over. But eventually you get the centerboard out of the water, guess what? It's going over because all the centerboard is doing is it's riding through the water. It's a symmetrical hydrofoil, and it's going to counteract any sort of motion. But eventually, if you get enough of that centerboard out of the water, it does nothing. And then it, you know, you look how little boat is actually in the water. There's no way in hell it can keep the sail from pulling you over. But lasers were a lot of fun. We used to have a laser. The family owned the laser, and we would pull it out on this carrier. And you just pull it to the beach, and then you put the mast in, and you go out sailing. You know, you can see where the wind's coming from on this one. He's got the sails, he's probably like 15 degrees off the wind, so the wind's coming from like right here, or over here. Probably right here is where the wind's coming from. You know, you see how much they're heeling over in the boat and how much you have to lean, you have to counteract it, that's a sunfish, with your body weight. If they let the sail all the way out, the boat would straighten up, but it would be much slower. You know, and you wouldn't be heeling over as much. Yeah, but these are super fun boats because it's very small. And you have to be real quick to switch sides and everything else. They're a lot of fun. You can see how you use that strap in the middle to be able to lean over. But that was what was fun with either sunfish or lasers was you had to really hang off the side of it over the water. You know, you get splashed with water like this dude the whole time. You just get soaked. Yeah, so we used to race them. I was a pretty young kid, but that ended up half the time you were capsized, hoping you didn't turtle. Here's your centerboard out. So as you get in closer to the beach, and it gets shallower, you have to pull the centerboard up. And because the sail is all the way out, it's not going to have much tipping force, so she can pull her centerboard up. You know, as they pull the sail in, the boat's going to want to heel more. You got to push that centerboard down more, so you can slide that centerboard up and down in a channel. Like you can see, this is kind of hydrofoiling, but I'm trying to find if you can see the centerboard, the one that's tipping. You know, like centerboards more interest me than keels because you're going to use hydraulic forces. I went down one day and I tightened it up so much that the mast was bending. Yeah, you get spinnaker on this one. So you put this mast out, this bar out in the front, the spinnaker bar, and then you attach it there into the top of the mast, and you let the spinnaker out, and that's good for if you're running away from the wind. No spinnaker there. Yeah, it's this is what I over tightened when I was a kid, and it was bending the mast because it pulls the boom down and then it bends the mast. It didn't permanently bend the mast, it just bent it until loosened it back up. And then this happens from time to time. This has got hydrofoil there and there. But we did that one day. The nice thing with the laser was it was so light that this happened with me and another kid. And I stepped on the centerboard, and as soon as the centerboard sticks out the center on a laser, you just step on it, and then the boat will tip right back up. Like that's how big the lasers were, like this big. Yeah, we used to pick the boat up and carry it out of the basement, and then walk down the beach with it. It'd be fun to have a boat like that. Take it on a lake or something. Alright, catch up a chat. Yeah, it's you know, again, like the big thing that was annoying me was just like, you have no clue what my goal is. It's like, yeah, I could put the keel on, but then you don't understand. The guy didn't understand the whole point is I'm trying to see how does it react without the keel, and if I put a keel in, how do I know how it reacts without the keel? So it was like, dude just has no clue what I'm trying to achieve, and then starts, you know, commenting. It's like, you know, you can ask questions, be like, hey, you know, why aren't you using a keel? And the answer would be, because I'm trying to see how it behaves without a keel. And then that answers the question. Then he can shut up about a keel. Yeah, it's pretty simple. You know, one thing I'm curious about, too, is, again, like I said, I think they're prioritizing square sails. So one thing I'm going to try here is, let's do this. Currently going about 3 knots. If I move this attachment point here up, it's going to more square out the sail. Let's see how that works. Because I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be doing much of sailing anyway, because, frankly, the sailing doesn't interest me at all. You know, I like building motors. I like building microcontrollers for motors. So the sails, really, I have very limited interest in. I'm more interested in, like, for example, some people have been making some cool power generators using the sails as turbines. That interests me more than the sails itself and sailing. You know. Sails was not very high on my list of interesting things because it's like, it cuts the versatility down, and it's like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want unrealistic speed, so I don't want to be sailing at 40 knots, and so that doesn't interest me. And then, you know, I don't want to be sailing around at 3 knots all day, like, not going to be able to do any rescues at 3 knots, really. So yeah, let's increase the wind again. the main thing I'm trying to test now is see how it works on a run. The run should theoretically be the fastest speed you're going to get because you have the most sail exposed to the wind. It'd be fun to get back into fishing too. Trying to think of like some of the things I want to do getting back into the game. I'd like to go back to mining. Mining was probably some of the most fun I had building mining equipment. Good for multiplayer sessions. I would lean more towards that than anything else. Let's go up the wind. Can't get precise conditions here, but I'm trying to see. The speeds we're getting. Yeah, I'm probably not going to do these sail tutorials because I just don't care enough about sails to get into it. I know 454 did a tutorial the other day. It's too much work for my interests. Like, you know, if they added for example, they added some cargo mechanics, I'd be all over those, but sails don't really interest me all that much. Let's up it a little bit. Yeah, so that's a little bit over 3 knots right there. Curious what the next updates they're gonna make it is gonna be. Are those keels or are they hydrofoils? They put hydrofoils in the new Olympic boats, don't they? Oh, you used to sail lasers, Alistair? Yeah, the lasers are fun. They're tiny and like you really have to like it's tough, especially like I'm too goddamn old to be ducking under the boom on a laser, but you know, you didn't have much space under the boom, so as the boom comes across when you jibe or you tack, it's you really have to get under it, and then you have to switch sides quickly, and you have to get your feet back under that strap, or else you're gonna go over. So it's really kind of high-paced, high adrenaline sailing. It was good for when I was a kid. I don't jumping around all that much now. Yeah, scaling with RC because, like, yeah, you figure just the wind's effect is, you know, on the hull and everything else, and the material weight differences. It's probably pretty hard to scale sailing correctly with RC. But it'd still be kind of fun to be able to buzz around it. Yeah, I'd be more interested in sailing on a lake too, just because like you don't have to wash the boat down as much. You don't get salt all over the sails, stuff like that. Just like it's a lot of effort to go do. And the problem with like when I was showing you the picture of the lasers, you probably could get a towable one with your vehicle, but usually you just have to walk them down. Because let me see if I found this picture of the sailors, the trailer again. Because like the trailer we had, we'd have to walk it to the beach. You know, you could probably get some that you could pull by a car, but then you have to have a tow ball on there and everything else. You know, so they're pretty tiny to be pulling with a car. And then if you get a trailer too light on your car, truck, it starts dancing around. You hit a pothole, you can flip the thing. So it's just, you know, if you lived right by it, like we lived within walking distance of the beach, so we could just, you know, walk the sailboat down there, and you just chain up the trailer. Oh yeah, gators and water moccasins. Yeah, I got chased by a water moccasin once. That was no fun. Yeah, the front sail's fixed. I just got it fixed. It's not really set up as a spinnaker. I don't have any adjustability on it. Yeah, I'm more interested in going back to mining. Like, I wanted to just get a taste of sails today, but like, I really don't see myself using sails again. Like, like I said, the thing that interests me is making some cool, like power generation stuff. Making some maybe like land craft that use wind turbines to move them. That would be kind of cool. That's more up my alley than doing a sailboat. It just doesn't interest me. Oh yeah, on the lasers, the boom. The problem with the lasers, like Alistair's talking about, how many times I got hit in the head with the with the laser, is it's you got to real. There's not much space under the booms. You really have to like get your ass under the boom to move sides. Like here, this is a good picture to show. Like, you don't have less space. You're pretty much laying flat to get through there. So if you look at the distance, like, see the boom here? This dude has to crawl under there to get on the other side. So you see, there's not much space. And plus, you got a rope there. So he's got to go under the back here when he jives or tacks. And so he's got to hurl his ass under here to get on the other side. So it's absolutely a pain in the ass. You know, that's why bigger sailboats are nice, because you can kind of just duck a little bit and get under the boom, but something tiny like that, you really had to like hurl yourself underneath, and it's definitely a young person's thing. Like, there's like another good picture here I'll show you of like, imagine this person here, this dude having to hurl his ass underneath the boom. Like, he's got to come in through this section here to get on the other side. It's just absolutely miserable. You know, you can go right into the wind and luff. So if you go into the wind and luff, you've got more time, but you slow down. And the whole point of these boats are race boats. So it's like, you know, you kind of have to be an athlete to get in and out of there. Oh, that's funny. The orca was pulling boats. Probably not fun for the people doing it, but yeah, you know, I understand why a lot of people wanted sails in game, but you know, again, it's just not my cup of tea. You know, just doesn't really interest me all that much. I'm happy they added the mechanics, because here, let's do this instead for a little bit. Let's go in and like, some people have come up with some cool designs for like wind turbines and power generation. That stuff more interests me than this. Let's see. Let's do. That's the sort of thing that I find to be kind of cool. Goddamn, why does everything say lights? Because I'm in front of the trigger is why. Trigger probably extends out quite a bit. Trying to load a new driver, it's like, no thank you. Yeah, 4 I put at the end. Yeah, both things need to be moved down. Not the best system, but good to start with. And then I'll gotta square it a little bit more. Like this is the stuff that more interests me, kind of like making a sand base that can walk or can use the power created by the wind to move it. That's more my speed. Yeah, and I'm just in the add-on editor trying to find the spot to spawn it. Is it blowing it? No. Oh, I see what it's doing. Trying to push it because it's got the 1. Here, let's do this real quick. Just make it asymmetrical for now. It's gonna try to push it one direction, so they're just up. They're just opposing because the sail can go either way. do it right in front of this here. There we go. Three by threes. God, if we could remember how to rotate blocks, we'd be in great shape. Alright, when stiffness, damping, grip, all that, tire radius up. Try to get the most pressure we can get. Let's do high grip. Let's do high grip there. Let's see, we need a better system for blowing these. Probably if I do 4, it might work better because it will, once it starts going in a single direction, it might be working better. What's that? That is 9, okay. And then I want to try something with this toggle button. And then I still don't know what this actually does, the take and take out sales. It doesn't show, it doesn't look like it does much. I'm sure it does something, but it doesn't really look like it's doing a whole hell of a lot. We'll see. Okay. Okay, that's good. Check chat in a second. heavy enough. Shit. Get this heavier. This would kind of be cool to make this power some sort of vehicle where you have wind generation working RPS that can then be converted into a different motion. See, it looks okay. It's starting to go. I can get it started and then it will go in one direction. There we go. Once I get started, it's going in one direction. I'm not getting any wheel turn though. Wonder if the brakes are too much. Look like I'm gonna get any wheel turn. I've got other turbines at work. The one thing I could do is try to... How do you bring the sails back in is the question, man. Interesting. Got this as an add-on. Let's check that. Ketchup. Yeah, I can imagine sailing in Canada's pretty cold. How's it going there, David? How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm trying to make a wind turbine. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, CG. Oh, okay, you just need one for it. I got you. Yeah, wind-powered oil refiner would be cool. Like, that's the sort of stuff that, like, steampunky stuff would interest me. Like, making a sailboat, I have very limited interest in. Just like, it has very little utility for me, so it's like, I don't like building builds that don't have much utility because it's like, what's the point? So, that sort of stuff doesn't interest me all that much. Let's try to get this figured out. I could increase the diameter. I could use a burper on this. Let's burp something here. Let's go. Go. Let's get this moving and see if it will continue. So let's go to take a motor. Put the motor here. Let's go ahead and I'll take a keypad. Put it here. I just have so little interest in sails as a making sailboats. Because I like motors. Motors are my favorite thing to work on. you know, in game, and so it's like pretty much takes away any use of motors or any need for motors. So it's like that doesn't interest me. But then making other sorts of motors using wind power like this, that's what I like. Okay. Let's get this moving. Okay, I don't have much friction in that. That could be part of the problem, is it's just not doing much friction. It's annoying because I have to get this out in the wind stream to get this to actually work. Let's see if I can get it to work inside. It's kind of... Here, let's do this. This will kind of give me a good indication of what's going on. Sometimes, you know, even with the wind whipping like this, it's going in here. Yeah, it's blowing wind in here. Sometimes it won't do it. Yeah, you can see how it like looks like nothing's going on inside the hangar. That's annoying. See, so I have to put it on with an add-on editor. Let's bring up one of my other wind turbines and see what's up with this. Go ahead, this one works. It's the same type of round on it. Get the wind down because this one will cause huge problems if it's super duper when I go out there. Seen a couple builds people made of cool like wind machines using sails. One of them is the angle, I think, of the... That's that. One of these is the angle. I can't remember which one it is. That's angle. Go. So that works well. Let's see what the power generation is on it. Not plugged in, which... I'll go up there, see if I can't do it. I didn't plug the node in. You know, I would love it if we could turn a velocity pivot like this and just make power. That would be cool. That would be good for regenerative brake and everything else. Let's bring this back in and I'm going to see what the... hook this up. Let's go to there. I think it's because it's a separate grid, it doesn't really show it all that well. Don't tip over, just relax, just relax. Don't know what that one was even for. Pain in the ass to get up here to try to read the generator. Ah, you bastard. But yeah, I would like them to go back and do some more stuff where, like, we get direct RPS connections, things like PTO shafts and everything else. And, you know, what I'd like them to do before that, though, is pallets. Pallets would be great. Yeah, it needs angle. That's what I was trying to do when I had them kind of offset. It's just... I've seen some people had some really cool designs. They were turning it 90 degrees, which is kind of neat. A couple things on Reddit with that. It's just the problem is you see how both these sails fill? I would need this sail to not fill to keep it rotating. So that's what the angle helps with. But like, I still don't know why I wouldn't just use control surfaces. They're much more efficient like this, as you can see. Down the angle a little bit. Yeah. But it'll be something neat to play with. I'm not going to do too much with sails, like I said. It's just... I have, like, literally zero desire to build a sailboat. Like, I started looking at some of my mining vehicles, and I want to do more mining stuff, but... Also don't have a lot of free time, so... The land yachts would kind of be cool. Here, let's like whip together something real fast for a land yacht, and then I'll probably jump off, maybe play some Tarkov. I can't play, like I could probably play Stormworks when I'm at work, but I cannot play Tarkov. I don't have good enough internet anywhere to be playing Tarkov, so might try to do some more Stormworks while I'm on the road. Because I got some time to do it, but I also kind of want to go out and see some places. So. Let's go 3 bangers. That is 20. Where's this? same direction instead of fucking around with it. Where's it going now? Over there? There we go. Now we get to purchase. This is more my speed. So seeing we're 15 degrees off the wind here, I'm going to actually pull the sails in. Or the sail in. That should help speed us up a little bit. And if I were to go away from the wind, I want to let the sail out so that it can go completely 90 degrees and the most sail will be facing the wind. I can see some cool land designs. I'm more interested in the land stuff. Wind-powered mining equipment seems very steampunk and very cool to me. That would be kind of cool. Some wind-powered mining stuff would be really neat. Okay, we got somebody on Twitch trying to sell me viewers. Let's ban that sucker and report him. More bots on Twitch. What else is new? Twitch. Your bots. See you later. Doesn't like the hill. Alright, let's finish up the chat, and I think we'll go ahead and we'll jump off. I'm not going to do much with sailing. I'm not going to do any tutorials on sailing. I just have zero interest in it. There are some people who are interested in it. I think they're better suited to make it as they actually care about it. You know, like the stuff that I'm interested in, I like making tutorials about because I can actually, it interests me and it's fun, and I can, you know, I want to spend the time to learn it. I don't really care about sails all that much. Yeah, I agree with Sergeant. Like, that's a big thing for me is I really would like some RPS connection stuff. I would like hydrodynamics for hydraulics, for hydrostatic systems, for pneumatic systems. I think a hydraulic pneumatic update would be fantastic. For example, you'd be able to do turbos. You know, you'd be able to do hydraulic systems. That would be huge. I think that would be a really good thing to add. I like CG went over to Twitch to tell the bot to shut up. Yeah, gliders would be fun. Like, there's some cool things people are doing, but just the act of like making a sailboat is not interesting to me at all in this game. It's just, you know, I get it. I think, you know, for a lot of people, there's a model building game and they want to build, you know, really cool sailboats, and that's awesome. And I've already seen some really cool stuff. It's just not what I'm interested in. Like, I'm interested in more industrial gameplay. I'm interested in pallets where, for example, like, here, we'll talk about it for 2 seconds. Stop this flapping. Like, for example, we have these trailers. I'm not a huge fan of these trailers. I think it's great they added it. I'm just never going to use these. And the main reason is I have no desire to use SIBTAT. I want my system, which has air brakes, which uses the pneumatic update to do air brakes. And I want all the things that, you know, somebody who used to do this professionally would want in their system. So I think this is cool, but I'm never going to use these. I think it's very cool. They did good design work. Just never going to use them. I would much prefer a pallet update where, for example, you know, if you don't know what pallet is, you know, you have palletized cargo. Bring up pallet. It's another way that you can have an intermodal, and what I mean by intermodal is that you have, it can be handled by different modes. So pallet's super simple. You have plastic and wood pallets, and you can stack whatever you want on the pallets. And because of this, it makes it so that it can go in a huge variety of different transportation mediums. So you have things like pallet jacks. Why is it showing me how to build houses with pallets? There we go, palletized cargo. So, for example, you can put pallets in a container that can go on a ship. It can also go on this trailer. This is floor loaded. So when you floor load, you can fit more goods in a floor loaded container, but it takes a hell of a lot longer. You can also wrap pallets. So here's floor loaded. You can fit more in than palletized, but the point of the pallet is I can pull the pallet off, and it can come off much quicker. So you can take a forklift, you can unload 20 pallets very quickly. Where floor loading, this might take you 2 hours to empty. This might take you 10 minutes to empty. So yeah, you hold less, but it's more efficient to move around. That's one of the reasons why they like doing palletized cargo. You can see here are palletized sleds for airplanes. With that cargo container, of course that can go on a truck, that can go on a ship, that can go on a train, and so you're further making things intermodal where they can be hauled by different modes. You can do things like pallet jacks, so it gives you something else to build in game. You can do forklifts in game with pallets. So I think pallets would be a really cool thing to add. I have my own pallet system. Like here's a ship being loaded with pallets, and that really makes it so that we have, for example, let's look at the game real quick. So let's say you had a pallet spawn here at FJ. Okay, you have a couple pallets spawn at FJ. And they're all going up to, one's going to Draymore, one's going to the Arctic. Because they'd be small, it would make sense to make the amount you get per pallet reasonably small. So say 500, 800, maybe 1,000. And so if you could grab 20 pallets, you might be able to put 20 pallets in a 53-foot cargo container. Well, in game, we don't have 53-foot cargo containers. We have about like 26s. So these are about halves of what they'd be IRL. They do have half-size cargo containers IRL. But you could make a 53-foot cargo container, fill it with pallets, and then put it on a truck and move it somewhere. So let's say you had 5 pallets. One of them needs to be delivered to Draymore. One of them needs to be delivered to Endair Airfield. One needs to be delivered to the Arctic. And so you would grab your airplane, you would grab the pallets, load them on an airplane, fly the airplane down to Endair, and you'd drop off a pallet. Oh my god, look, there's another pallet for Draymore. So you drop one pallet off, and you pick one pallet up and stick it on the airplane. You then take your airplane off. This would make airplanes useful, which they're not really right now. You have to kind of come up with your own stuff for airplanes. Now you land at Draymore. Okay, well now you have 2 pallets because you picked up the 2, so you drop 2 off. Bingo, you get your money. Up, there's another pallet for the Arctic. Stick it on. All right, now you fly from Draymore up to the Arctic. Gives you another reason to go up to the Arctic, which we have very limited reasons to go there now. You land in the Arctic and you deliver 4 pallets for the Arctic, and you get your money. If you had, let's say you go to FJ, and you have 3 pallets that need to be delivered to JSI. Well, you're probably not going to want to stick them on a boat because that's going to take a lot of time. And so you don't want to spend an hour going via boat to JSI for what's relatively a small amount of money. But you can go there pretty fast in a truck. So you load those 3 in a box truck. You take the box truck down, and you deliver it at JSI. So you can start getting into things like, for example, let's find one. All right, here's a box truck with a lift gate. So you have these box trucks with lift gates. So this gives you another thing to build in game. You would slide your pallet on the lift gate, you bring it up, pallet gets pushed in, and that's how you would load your truck with pallets. Here's right here. You've got an electric pallet jack, moving a pallet up the lift gate into the trailer. You could also use cranes on trucks to do that. You could load pallets on trains. I think that's where the game really shines, is by using more intermodal types of cargo. It really lets you build a huge host of different pieces of equipment. You know, so I think that's where I would like to see them do. A pallet update would be huge. I don't think they should have not done the trailer update. I understand why they did it. I think it was a good addition. A lot of people are using it. I'm just not going to use it because I have no interest in using Sibtat. But if they, like, you can even see on this one, they're like, this is supposed to be a pallet of something. So if they did some pallets, and the way I would do them is like my pallets with the gripper on it. That way you can have a pretty compact pallet, standardized. You'd build things like forklifts and cranes and everything to load the pallets on. You'd be able to put them on airplanes. You know, especially for airplanes in game, we have very little utility in this game for airplanes at all, let alone early game. And so, like, for Alistair's challenge, I built the what was it? Canary. I built the Canary. The Canary can take a pallet. So if you look here, Canary has a seat pallet. Go ahead and delete that out. Let's just delete it out real quick. You know, you could build a small airplane like this, which is relatively cheap. This whole airplane costs 21 grand, so you could be in a starter game with this. And then if you grab a pallet, let's see if I have one small enough to go on there. Here's a pallet for the Mike challenge. You know, this pallet's too big for this plane, but like you could load a pallet in and then you go off and you can do deliveries very early. So planes would be a really great early game vehicle to be doing missions. And so that's something I would like to see, you know. And then one of the things that people struggle with this game a lot is inspiration for new builds. There was a post on Reddit. Somebody was just like, they couldn't think of what to build next because they didn't know what to do. And so, like, if you built a small airplane like that that holds one pallet, well, as you make more money, then you build one that holds 2 pallets. And then you build one that holds 5 pallets. And then, for example, like I have my Caribou, which was for another one of Alistair's challenges. And the Caribou, I forget how many pallets this one holds. I think they might be in there. Nope. This one holds 3, 4 pallets. And so now you have a vehicle that can hold 3 or 4 pallets. And then if you get something like, let me see, this big-ass VTOL, it has a center rack. This can hold, like, I don't know, 10 pallets. So you can see how you can quickly start to, you know, increase, and you keep building. You build bigger and more complex things, and it really kind of moves you along. And then it makes airplanes useful in this game, and it fits right in with the theme. And you can load it on a truck. If you have no interest in airplanes, you can load the pallets on a truck. If you have no interest in planes or trucks, you load it on a ship, you know, and it just makes it so you can play however you want using that thing. I think that's where the game really shines. You know, if you wanted to build trailers that have cranes or lift gates to be able to load pallets on, you can do that. You want to load it with a forklift, you can do that. That really makes it so that it's, I think, would be a lot of fun. Let's get up a chat, and then I think we'll finish up. Yeah, but like making forklifts, making pallet forks, all that stuff's fun, you know? Yes, yeah, like I've, you know, we have trailers. I used to put trailers on the train all the time in, you know, when I was working, driving tractor trailer, was we would bring trailers down, they would load them on the train, they'd take them right off our back and put them on the train. Oh yeah, we got the Minky. Minky can hold many a pallet. Minky holds containers, mostly, but you got Minky. Minky holds all sorts. Minky holds, what was that, 4 containers? You know, but I think that by making some small stuff, part of the problem is, like, these containers are great. I'm glad they have them in the game. But at this scale, like, airplanes, it's hard to get standard size workbench with airplanes that can hold more than 2 of these. And you don't really need to, but where part of this part of the game falls down is everything needs to be a VTOL in this game, which drives me nuts. This is a prime place. This is a great addition when they made this, that you have a container port right next to an airport. And I did put it on one of the Q&As, and Deltar seemed receptive to adding a container port here at Tajin. Because if the container port was right here, you could load them on ships. You could fly them from FJ up to the Arctic. Eventually we'll load in. And then you could unload them, and all you have to do is drive them literally down this road and off to the left here, and you could deliver your containers. The problem is they've made the Arctic in a lot of ways pretty useless for some of the stuff. Like, they have a great airport here. It's well laid out. It adds to the Arctic, but there's not much shit to do here, which sucks. So, for example, like, let's say you don't just deliver the pallet to Tajin, you have to deliver the pallet to this observatory. This is what I think really makes the game fun, is, okay, I got to deliver a pallet here. Well, how the hell do I get there? Well, it's going from FJ, so I load it on an airplane, and I fly the airplane up to Tajin, and then I unload it off the airplane, I put it on a small truck, and I drive it this short distance over to here. And then that allows you to use forklifts to load it. It allows you to use the airplane to get it up there, forklift to unload it, forklift to load the truck, then the truck to transport it. And so when people get to that point where they go, I don't know what to build next, and they have no inspiration, they say, hey, oh, I just got a mission. Well, I've got an airplane, I've got a forklift. Oh, I don't have a truck that can handle a pallet. Let's quickly build a truck that can handle a pallet, or download one, or whatever. And then you start kind of getting these stories where you have to move shit from A to B to C. You know, that would be kind of cool, you know. Yeah, definitely updates bring people back to the game. Let's quickly look. Like, you know, the sales brought me back for today just to kind of look at it. I'm really not interested in sales. Sales was never something that really interested me. But, you know, again, I don't really poop on other people's fun. You know, I have very little interest in sales, but I know a ton of people who are really looking forward to sales, and I'm glad they got the thing they wanted, you know. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it doesn't benefit me, so I'm not interested in it, you know. That's, I think, pretty selfish. You know, not every update's going to be for me. Sales wasn't for me. I have very little interest in sales. Let's see what the... Yeah, like, take a look at... You know, it's when people talk about, like, DLC. Oh, nobody wants DLC. And I've showed before how nobody wants DLC is kind of bullshit. You know, these are all the DLCs, the biggest peaks. And then you can see we're peaking out where sales are because it brought a bunch of people back for sales. And so, you know, when people say something silly like, oh, the devs shouldn't add new content to the game, they should just work on bugs, bullshit. Working on bugs just does this. It keeps the game static. Adding new content is where people come back. So I would like to, you know, they're definitely going to keep a balance of doing bug fixes and adding new content, but I think DLC would be the best thing for the game. You can see where the DLCs are all, where the spikes are. And naturally, the game's pretty old right now. This was all during COVID when everybody was at home playing games instead of going to work. You know, so... But I think a DLC, a good quality DLC with a lot of new things to do would really be good for the game. So, alright guys, it's good to see everybody again. If you like the video, like the video. I probably will not be getting that much content out for a while here, as I am busy and don't have too much time for it. But I do appreciate seeing everybody again. If you did like the video, like the video. If you knew and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.